Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to achieve this layered beachy mermaid wave on my friend Pilot Maria. You can see I've transformed her hair to look as though she has so much more of it. There are no extensions, this is all Maria's own hair. If you missed last week's tutorial, I'm going to link it on screen for you. I gave Maria a little makeover with both hair and makeup. So let's get on with part 2, which is the hair. So when Maria arrived, her hair was damp because she washed it this morning, so I've applied some of the Olaplex Bond Smoother No. 6 and the No. 7 Bonding Oil because that has heat protection. You'll also see me applying some of this Redken One United all-in-one treatment. Because the hair's dry, I just want to give it a little extra protection before I apply any heat. I'm taking a tail comb and creating a zigzag parting all the way around Maria's head. Every time you take a section down to work with, just make sure you do that zigzag parting. With this first section, I want to separate it into 2 individual sections. So use that tail comb to do a weave-in technique. The parting was a subtle zigzag, whereas this is a very deep zigzag effect. This is what's going to create lots of volume. The tool I'm going to use today is by Bondi Boost. This is their wave wand. You can use any mermaid waver that you have. This is the one that Maria and I both have, so that's why I'm using it. Both the 2 barrels that come out at the bottom are 32 mils. You're going to get a really big deep wave with this. Now this is quite a chunky appliance to work with, and what I wanted to share with you is that if you face it one way you get a particular style of wave, and then obviously when you turn it the other way the wave is mirrored in the hair, but sometimes you also get a little bit of a kink which adds to the look, which is really nice. Now the key aspect of this hair look to get the most volume, aside from the deep weave-in technique, is to rotate your appliance for each section of hair. This is going to enable each layer of the wave to sit on top of the other one, which creates volume. Another little tip which I shared with Maria because she didn't know, if you hold down the arrow on the right it will lock the appliance so that when you are rotating it you don't keep changing the temperature by accident. This is not a sponsored video, I'm sure this is the same with most wavers. I have worked with Bondi Boost before, but this is not a sponsored video, however I do love the brand. So taking the bottom half of the weaved section, I've already applied some of the Redken One United for additional heat protection, and I've got the waver set at 180, which is a really good heat for Maria's hair type. Usually when I'm working on the bottom sections I don't always rotate the waver at this stage. However, once I get to the hair that's above the ears I always rotate that waver for that added volume. Maria has like medium thickness hair, so if she had very fine hair I would rotate the waver from the very first bottom lower sections, but I know I can achieve the volume that I need rotating that waver from the ears upwards. Here you can see the waves are just kind of laying next to one another. They're not really sitting on top of each other because the wave pattern is the same. As soon as you disrupt that wave pattern, that's when you start to get the volume because the waves don't lay together, instead they sit on top of each other. Next I'm going in with the Moroccan Oil Luminous Finish Medium Hold Hairspray. This is to give a little bit of definition to the waves. It'll enable your hair to hold structure better, and this is great if you have fine hair, but it's also adding a little bit of texture. I'm taking my next section down. You can't really see at this angle that we've got that really subtle zigzag parting. Remember to do this for each new parting. And then to divide each new section up, you're creating that really deep weave, which is that really big zigzag effect. It's important with each section to try and get as close to the root as you can without obviously burning your scalp or your model's scalp. And then as you release the waver to come down the hair, you want to follow the pattern so that you get a nice even wave. My top tip when you are moving the waver down the hair is to hold the hair very softly with your fingers like this, and this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we don't want to stretch the wave we've already just put into the hair because it is hot, so if you stretch it at this stage it's going to lose its shape. Secondly, it means the hair all lifts in one go rather than the waver pulling the left side down a little bit more than the right side, and then you end up with this uneven wave. So if it's super hot, wear a glove, but obviously keep the hair up and lift it so that it's got a little bit of cooling time and it's not being stretched. That way your wave is going to stay in that waved shape. Think of it similar to curls, when we would normally curl the hair and then put it back in a pin curl until it cools down. The same with this. If you kind of like stretch the hair while it's hot, it's going to lose its wave. So use your fingers above to kind of bounce the hair upwards so it doesn't lose its shape. Now remember, again, if you've got fine hair, you should be rotating your waver already. Again, I'm doing this from the ears up, so from the next sections onwards, I'm going to be rotating it with every section. Remember to spray each section as you go with a little bit of medium hold hairspray. The waver itself is really long, so you can fit quite a wide section of hair through the waver. However, the hair just above the ears towards the front of the face I like to do separately, otherwise the waver kind of stretches over the ears and you miss getting to the root around your temple area. So I always like to take these sections out and do them very, very quickly. As you can see, this hair is a lot finer, so it takes super quick. You may have already seen this on TikTok, but there's a lot of people taking a piece of bread and they're spritzing half of the bread with heat protectant and then they're putting it into the toaster. And when the toast pops up, the half that has the heat protectant on is still very, very pale, and the side that doesn't have the heat protectant on is obviously very brown. So it's a really good way to show you how important heat protectant is. Now I'm moving up above the ears. I've created that subtle zigzag parting. And the hair that I've brought down is going to be parted into 2 individual sections using that deep weaving technique. And for these sections, I've been rotating the waver. So you'll start to see that the hair starts to lay on top of the other wave because we're disrupting that wave pattern. Remember to use your hand to elevate that wave so that there's no pressure on it as you make your way down the length of the hair with a waver. I also like to pick up individual sections of the waves when I spray the hairspray, so again it's kind of just adding a bit more texture. Having that structure underneath each section is going to give you that volume, and it means it's not going to fall flat in a couple of hours. This is what I was talking about earlier. When your waver's this way round, you get this beautiful kink to the hair, which I think is really beautiful because again it disrupts that wave pattern and it adds more definition to your style. I'm going to let you get on with watching the process and I'll come back when I've got some more to tell you. When Maria wears her hair wavy, she tends to wear it in the middle parting. I, on the other hand, wear mine on the side, so you do whatever suits you. Just don't forget to do a subtle zigzag between each of your layers and then do a deep weave between each of those sections to create 2 sections. This is a technique I've done since I was maybe 15 when I had my very first waver, and I used to just use my fingers. I still do to this day. I don't really reach for a tail comb for myself, I just weave it with my fingers. So you can do the same if you do not have a tail comb. When you've waved right at the root of your hair and you move down a section, it's usually cooled enough for you to be able to hold it in place while you migrate that waver down the length of the hair. Don't worry if you can't remember which way round your last section was waved. It really doesn't matter too much if you do 1 or 2 exactly the same. Just rotate it when you remember. You can see when I finish this section, because I've rotated the waver, it sits so lovely on top of the ones underneath. If you've got fine hair, this for you is going to be an absolute game changer. If you find your hair struggles to hold a style even with heat, then try putting mousse in your hair before you dry it with the hairdryer, because having that in there is going to add some grip to your hair when you start styling it. It's going to reactivate the mousse, which is going to create a really nice, almost crispy finish, but you kind of need that when you've got super fine hair. If you've got bangs like Maria, then you can wait until the very last minute to do those, so that you could almost turn the heat off of the waver, allow it to cool slightly so that you don't get a super intense indentation to the fringe, because I know sometimes depending on the length of it, it will bounce upwards. So here for instance you can see I've left Maria's bangs out, and I'm going to do that right at the last moment. Another tip I've totally forgot to say towards the beginning is to leave like an inch of your hair out at the bottom. This is really going to give you that beachy bohemian finish to your hair. I'm now going to do Maria's fringe on this side just to show you. I'm not taking it super close to the root, and I'm going to do the entire length of it in one go. I'm leaving the ends of the fringe out, and I'm doing it very quickly because it's very fine hair. You will have noticed I also rotated the waver slightly when the hair was in, so it didn't get a kink at the root of the hair. So this is a really nice way to frame Maria's face. All that's left to do is zhoosh the roots so you get some really nice volume going on, and this is how I achieved this beautiful layered beachy voluminous mermaid wave. I will link the products I've used in the description bar. Don't forget to come follow myself and Maria outside of YouTube over on our social handles, which will be on screen for you. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye guys!